There are two very exciting things going down in the world right now. One is that there is a huge rumor that if The Rock cannot make WrestleMania 41, it's going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, which would be terrific. And two, right now in this world, no one is wearing a bigger hood than me. We also had WWE SmackDown last night, and yes, it was an okay show, I thought. It was very much, we're at the end of 2024. What the flub are we going to do? But listen, I think everything between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens is absolutely fantastic, and really the big takeaway is that Cody did make his big return, and we are going to be doing a ladder match at the Royal Rumble. The Wingding title is going to be up there. The WWE title is going to be up there. And listen, I don't think Kevin Owens is going to win, which is quite upsetting because I would love to have seen him be world champion. But who else turned up on SmackDown last night? It was Sami Zayn, and he wanted to take out the bloodline. Then Carmelo Hayes wanted to give out Christmas cards. It was very much a family situation, as I'm sure all you've been through recently, and I hope you did have good holidays. But the long and the short of it is that we did get Sami Zayn versus Carmelo Hayes, so I very much enjoyed. Ended in a DQ because, of course, the Bloodline 2.0. But it's starting to feel to me like Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn are probably going to be moved over to SmackDown when we do finish this transfer window. Obviously, they have their feud going on. But it also means once Kevin Owens is done with Cody Rhodes, which probably is going to be early February, at the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens can likely get into it because, of course, KO would be super mad at Sami Zayn because he did hang out with the Bloodline again. And I think that's going to be our WrestleMania 41 match, which is going to make me so happy. And if you want to make it some kind of stipulation, I think we should do it because while I know they have fought before, it never really to me felt like it should be as big. Is that the right word? I don't know. Or have the gravitas that it should do. Because these guys started together. They've always been sort of like the yin and yang of each other. They've always been the brother and the sister. They've always been the mum and dad. They've always been together. So if you can sell it in the right way and get that across, I just think this could be absolutely fabulous. Which again also ties into what we talked about at the start of the show. Which I guess kind of does tie into SmackDown. That yes, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes could be on the thought piece of paper when it comes to WrestleMania 41. Now, listen, I think The Rock probably is going to be there. I'm 50-50 on it. I just think if he is going to be able to be there, he'll be there. And if he's not because he has reshoots to do or movies to film, I totally get it. I don't really get upset about it either way because it's just always how it's been over the last 10 years or so. So at least we did get last year's stuff in. As a backup plan, for lack of a better term, because that sounds somewhat disparaging, I think Cody Rhodes versus John Cena is great. And when these rumors did break, everyone was like, oh man, Cody's going to get booed. Who cares, man? Sometimes you just have to put two generational stars against each other and you say to the fans, hey man, cheer who you want and boo who you want. Cody Rhodes is a big enough star now. He can handle a few people booing him. I think sometimes we handle this stuff with kid gloves. Oh, we can't have Cody booed. He don't care, man. Well, I'm sure a part of him would care because he's a human being, but the match would be so huge and it would be so nuts to see that in the main event of WrestleMania, and I presume also with the added story that John Cena is going for his 17th world title reign, that you'd also have that jeopardy. We'd be like, of course, Cody Rhodes isn't going to lose. But what if he did? Because John Cena, again, is so huge. He is somebody that would be able to get away with that, for lack of a better term. But for as many people that may be like, oh, I can't believe it, there'd be a bunch more going, oh, this is so wonderful. It's the best moment of my life. And of course, if John Cena did win, you'd have to rematch that down the line. I would be totally cool with it. But then there's the other flip side to that too. If Cody Rhodes beats John Cena, man, it's just going to be electric. And yeah, there is a risk that you could turn some of the audience against him, but I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to live in a world where we're not going to do these dream matches because some people may boo. That's not wrestling. Wrestling is about how the hell did we end up here to begin with? We are in the Phantom Zone. We are in an alternative dimension. Let's pull the trigger and get some stuff done. So I'm a huge fan of it, and it would also mean once again, plan B, such a stupid term, is going to be, I presume, I think you have to do Cody versus John Cena on the Sunday night. I really do personally. But that would also probably mean that Saturday night is going to be CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. And we talked about this on other videos already, but it does make you start to ponder that would have to have the World Heavyweight title involved, like it just would. So what the flub happens there? Like, is Gunther going to beat CM Punk? Is CM Punk even in the Royal Rumble? Maybe he's not. Maybe CM Punk is going to challenge him for that event and we'd see a title change. But then what does Gunther do at WrestleMania? And again, if you watch my content, thank you very much. I've been a super geek, being, oh man, we should do Gunther versus John Cena at WrestleMania. So that plan is out the window. And ultimately, I think what this shows is that WWE is in such a good position at the moment because you could go in around about 42,567 different directions, and where you end up is going to be pretty exciting. Like, listen to all the names I threw out there. If you did Roman Reigns versus John Cena, I know it's a little bit long in the tooth, but it would still be pretty good. They have amazing history. If we did CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes, that's also a thumbs up and a match we have to get to eventually. But you could do a Drew McIntyre versus a Cody Rhodes. I think Drew has that much steam at the moment that if you told that story right, it'd be absolutely tremendous. And of course, you can take a CM Punk and put him against pretty much anybody, and he's going to make this work. That is his superpower. But then there are more questions. What happens with Gunther if he loses his title? What do we do with the IC title? We have a bunch of other belts now we have to factor in too. And there were some extra hints maybe on that episode of SmackDown. Like, we're leaning very heavily into the idea that it's Bianca Belair or Naomi that attacked Jade Cargill. And quite rightfully, Nia Jax was like, excuse me, no one seems to be going after the Jade Cargill stuff anymore. I think it is Bianca Belair, which probably means it is Naomi, like false tactics, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think Nia Jax should be champion for that much longer. I don't mean that in a bad way. I think Nia Jax gets a really bad rap. I think she's so good at being Nia Jax, which is a dumb thing to say, but she leans into her strengths and we try and circumvent her weaknesses. But we did have that 6-way tag, and Tiffany Stratton, when Nia Jax was dead on the floor, did think about cashing in her Money in the Bank. Look, the fans there, I believe it was in Florida last night, they went crazy. So it must be personal to me because the fans are still into it. I just think we're way past the point. We've just over-teased it. That's fine, it can happen. But now that we do have the IC women's title and the US women's title, I don't think you need to be as precious with the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. And I know that Drew sort of did his whole thing on the night of Money in the Bank, so I get why WWE tried to elongate it. But I think it now makes much more sense to just have Tiffany Stratton cash in. Maybe you do it on that 6th of January Raw, but I would do it within the next 6 weeks maximum and start 2025 off with a brand new champion, because I don't think you want to just continue to tease it. Again, it just gets a little bit dull. But that was the point of that. Of course, Candice LeRae is now like the thorn in her side too. And something has to happen with Bayley. Bayley and Bianca Belair are friends now, and that makes me raise up my eyebrow. But yeah, I mean, Sami Zayn versus Carmelo Hayes was the main event. Then we had the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes segment at the very end. Really cool stuff, and that's just continuing on the bloodline. Although it's not a plot hole. I call it a plot hole. That's the wrong word. But man, we should all be mad at Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa always has the Bloodline 2.0's back. He's always there. He's always protecting them. He's always looking at them as I hit the microphone like an idiot. Poor Sami Zayn has been whooped this last few weeks. Where's Roman Reigns? Oh, he just went away again. Where did he go? Why didn't he come back? So that's something that, is it going to tie in? I mean, listen, if we talk about the real world, I'm talking about the story world. In the real world, maybe Roman has limited dates. Maybe Roman takes time off because of his health issues. I'm fine with either or. He's busted his ass. If that's the contract that he's got, then more power to him. But again, jumping back into WWE law, the head of the table character is a right butthole, and nobody should be supporting him, which is my Solo Sikoa, will always be my tribal chief. But there was a lot of rushed things I thought in this episode of SmackDown too. Like, from nowhere, we're doing Nia Jax versus Naomi next week, which is a good way to start off the first ever 3-hour SmackDown, which I'll talk about in just 1 second. But Naomi's already challenged for this, and I don't feel like winning a 6-person tag team match should justify it. Thankfully, I think the Jade Cargill stuff will sort of be merged into this, so it'll be perfectly fine. Maybe Jade Cargill even comes out and says, "You did this to me, Naomi," but absolutely don't pretend to cry. That would be ridiculous. I suppose the good thing is, we're also setting up Michin versus Chelsea Green. Love the Chelsea Green stuff. Wonderful celebration ceremony as she came out dressed like the Statue of Liberty. Don't think we needed to tease problems with Piper Niven, although at the same time, Piper Niven versus Chelsea Green at WrestleMania for that championship, that's pretty good, right? There's certainly weight to that. But the good news is we are setting all these things up because now WWE knows they have that extra hour, so we can settle down and we can take our time. Like, I'm still not a huge fan of the tag team stuff that we're doing on SmackDown or any of the men's tag team stuff recently. DIY, obviously, super heels. The Street Profits are now getting involved. Legado del Fantasma, they're getting involved. Berto and Angel. And then you've got Pretty Deadly. There's somebody else that I haven't said. No, mostly Machine Guns, obviously. But this is great. I think now all of a sudden we're going, oh my gosh, we can be a bit more patient. So we're dropping these, I don't know what you want to call it, bags in. Stupid thing to say. Because I want more stuff to be like Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes. I understand that's the main event, so you can't go as crazy or as deep or as unemotional. But I think we can tell better stories. So on that side, I like it. Always going to be a huge fan of giving more opportunities to the wrestlers, especially someone like Carmelo Hayes, who I think is doing a terrific job on the main roster. But as a fan, much prefer the 2 hours Raw and SmackDowns we've had over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Admittedly, the first couple of Raws at 120 minutes didn't really hit in the way that I think WWE wanted them to. But after a while, I think they found the feet and the structuring and the pace of them all. And by the time you get to the main event, you're really excited about that last match or that last segment. But hey-ho, it is what it is. I'm just worried because if this two-night thing also comes into play as well, obviously it's 2 nights for SummerSlam, 2 nights for WrestleMania, and now WWE are discussing doing it for a Money in the Bank and a Royal Rumble, and of course it makes all the sense in the world for a Royal Rumble. It could mean that some weeks you have 6 hours of television to watch, 8 hours if you want to watch NXT, and then let's say you got 2 pay-per-views then go another 8 hours. That is 16 hours in 1 week. Now, I'm very blessed and very lucky that this is the way I make a living. But even then, I feel it sometimes like, oh my gosh, this is burning me out. And we still have other things that we want to do. And again, if you have a other job, and if you only have so much time and so many hours to spend on entertainment, can you really dedicate 16 hours? 16 hours. That's like almost a whole day. Well, it's not, but it's definitely over half a day. It's going to be a lot. But at the same time, WWE hasn't put a foot wrong now for a couple of years. And it will calm down eventually. That's just how life works. It won't be anything to do with wrestling. It won't be anything to do with WWE. It'll just be the natural ups and downs of life. And of course, I will say that. But it's going to be super hard to say to someone, do you watch 16 hours of content if you're not the hottest thing ever? But we will wait and see. It's just personally not what I would want. But again, it's a business about making money. And I'm sure that the USA Network and Netflix obviously have given WWE a lot of cash. I do like the fact that I was probably one of them at some point, maybe out of hope more than anything. We were kind of like, oh, of course it's not going to be 3 hours on Netflix. Why wouldn't it be? They still want to get adverts in there. Again, they still want to make their cash. They want to make their finances, make the books look better. And the longer the show, the more you can do that. But at least we have a bunch of good matches on the menu. Like Randy Orton still needs to work into these kind of things. Now, I'm sure that he will probably return maybe at the Royal Rumble or before the Royal Rumble. But when do we do the Cody Rhodes feud? Because if it was Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, well, actually, if you come out of the Royal Rumble, which is the first week of February, you still have 3 months before we get to WrestleMania. So there's a long time to go. I'm not sure you could tease the John Cena thing straight away. Or I suppose John Cena could win the Royal Rumble and you could. But do we do the Randy Orton thing before WrestleMania? Should that be the program coming out of WrestleMania? What does Randy Orton do at WrestleMania? So there's a bunch of questions, but I think there are a bunch of fun questions to try and answer. And really, there's not a bad result. Even if you did Carmelo Hayes versus Randy Orton, I think WWE would find a way to make it work. And again, I'm a big fan of Carmelo. No matter what brand he ends up on, give him a belt at some point in 2025 because he's better than I think some people are giving him credit for, mostly because of the quote-unquote Braun Strowman burial. But actually, Carmelo's biggest asset, I suppose, in a WWE world is he comes across like a character in a good way. He has sides to him. He gets involved in backstage skits. He's always on the microphone. When you're kind of doing that, I don't necessarily worry about his win or loss record. He'll get that. That will come. I think on WWE TV, it's just more important to be featured and feel like you don't give a damn. Again, he didn't give a damn about Sami Zayn on SmackDown. So it's probably an episode you can skip. Maybe worth watching the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens interaction because those two are super good. But I am intrigued to see what we do moving into 2025. Because this definitely felt like listen, we're at the end of the year, guys. Let's just get through it. And we need to do more with the US title as well. Like, it's great that we're doing Andrade versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think the title is on the line. I got a little bit confused by that because I am an idiot. But, you know, no LA Knight and no real direction for that championship at the moment. And I guess in many ways, it's kind of similar to the Intercontinental Championship. I just kind of feel like both Bron Breakker and Shinsuke Nakamura need proper feuds. And I presume that is going to be LA Knight. But let's do some promos, let's tell some stories, and let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all. But otherwise, a solid end to the year, I would say, for WWE. Obviously, we have Raw this Monday, which, of course, is before the 1st. So, yes, we do have one more show. So, I suppose there's things we can do on that as well. But it's been made very clear that it's the 6th of January Netflix debut. Well, they're going super big. So many people have described this as a WrestleMania-level show. And you would do that because you're trying to promote it. But I also don't think you want to let down your audience. So, be it a presentational point of view, a match point of view. I mean, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan is a last woman standing match. And there's a big rumor that at the end of that, somebody could be returning. So it's got to be Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch. And given that I think Rhea Ripley is going to win, I think it probably should be Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte Flair should come back as a mega heel, and that should be Rhea Ripley's first feud, and I think Rhea Ripley should win. I think Rhea Ripley should be an absolute beast in 2025. Shout out to the crazy people that she doesn't sell enough. It's wrestling. It's cool not to sell things sometimes. Look what Sting did for basically 20 years. Well, not 20 years, but for a good solid amount of time, he did it. But I do end 2025 very, very excited about all of this. And again, I suppose it's awesome that we can have a show like SmackDown. That's kind of take it or leave it. but you can still sit down and go, oh yeah, that was fun. Like we had the Street Profits versus Angel and Berto. Really dumb that they would believe Pretty Deadly, who are notoriously out for themselves. But anytime I can get Pretty Deadly on my television, I'm a happy man. And also, we got to do this musical. It's been teased for a good few months now, and I need it. That's also how they tried to blackmail them for money for their musical, which actually is terrible news. It probably means nothing has been done. Now, more important than all of this, please do drop me a comment below and let me know just what do you think about the WWE scene overall at the moment, especially what do you want from WrestleMania 41? Again, I'll try and sit down and predict it soon because so many things have shifted into place. Also, please do interact with the video as much as possible. That's the most important thing. You can leave the room, but make sure you do some clicking. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the video on the screen, which is me trying to predict stuff for 2025 in the world of wrestling. And of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Otherwise, it is grillermind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon to get 10% off. I had an energy drink before I made this video, and it made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on social media. Otherwise, it's Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller for cameos. Thank you to everyone who got personalized videos over the holidays. That was super fun. And ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. If you want a dumb t-shirt, which I don't have around, because I always forget as I hit my microphone again. As we know, if you hit your microphone twice, it's time to end the video. Have a lovely weekend, my friends. I appreciate you very much. See you soon.